Hey everyone, just wanted to make a video. I got the HORI PS3 FPS Assault Pad 3 in the mail. There's not a lot of reviews outside of Amazon or Kotaku, but on YouTube there's really only unboxing videos, no reviews, so it's kind of hard to see it in action as opposed to some of those stock images that are photoshopped and all that. So I decided to go ahead and make one, show the differences between the Dualshock 3 and the HORI Assault Pad 3. And there's no Assault Pad 1 or 2. In fact, the 3 stands for PS3, but it already has PS3 in the name, so it's redundant. So, as we can see, it's obviously larger. This is a larger controller. It has a different symmetrical joystick design, so you can kind of see where normally your hands go here, just at neutral rest. You kind of have to move your thumbs a bit to the left and right to get onto the pads. What's nice about the HORI is it's right there. It's right where your thumbs are naturally gonna be, and instead the D-pad and the face buttons are symmetrical. You got a programming button, the PlayStation button. Let me see if I can get this closer so we can see in detail. So face buttons work, programming, PlayStation. These buttons right here are the programming lights. And as you can see, there are lights that run to the sides and on top. And 3 triggers. Also, this is a corded controller. It's not very easy to tell on the Amazon page, but it's a lot of cord. I mean, I have not run into an incident where I don't have enough cord. So you can see it's bulkier. If you have hands, bigger hands, yes, this would help if you do have hands. But if you kind of have big hands, this controller works. I have heard they're easy to find drivers online, so if you're actually even looking for a controller for your PC, this is viable. And right here actually is the analog sensitivity for the sticks. And on the back, its key feature is the target button. And we'll get all to that in 1 second. Naturally, we only have our regular face pads, everything on the Dualshock. And let's get to some of the issues first, okay? Let's not hide behind it. This is kind of a strange design if your hands are not ready for this. Really, the only designs like this are the Wii U Pro controller. This is actually why I bought it. This is for first-person gaming, but I went ahead and bought it because I love this design. It looks comfortable, it is comfortable, and I also do play a lot of first-person shooters, so it helps out. Now, first thing about this is it's all made from a really soft rubber. There's a certain name for it, but it looks good to hold, and it really does feel good. It just feels soft. The HORI is for $30, which kind of makes this, you know, $50 hard plastic. Sony really skimped. This is, I keep hearing the word ergonomic. I don't know why that's such the new buzzword, but it's comfortable. It's a comfortable controller to hold in your hands. Everything's ergonomic these days, is what I'm getting at. And the light up here, it can be turned on or off. Naturally it's on, but if you hold the select button for a couple seconds, it will turn off, and it's nice to have. I know a lot of these aftermarket controllers put lights and all sorts of cool things on here to go ahead and try and, I don't know, make them flashy, make them cool. And they're not needed, and this is, of course, I would say not needed, but while I normally go ahead and turn it off with select, I don't mind having it. It's a bright blue light at any time there's rumble, and let me tell you, the rumble feature on this controller is great. It goes red. It's kind of neat. I kind of leave it on sometimes. So I have some issues with this, and I think they're defects with this particular controller, because I've not seen them mentioned in any other review is that the triangle button and the left D-pad is they require more pressure to register the input. So I can normally press these real softly, just real quick, and they register. So if I'm in a game and I want to reload or attack, I just have to hit it real quick. Normally I do the same thing with the triangle, but here it won't register. I actually have to push harder. Which isn't really that bad if you think about it, but what really hurt this was on the left D-pad, because the D-pad feels great. I like it. I've only had limited use, but this really kills it. Here, everything registers normally, but here, doesn't. You have to press harder. And I like it. As you can see, it's a bit raised up. It just responds real well with that click. You can hear it. And I like it if this is just a particular defect with this model, then it wouldn't be such a big deal. I haven't heard from any other reviews of this, so yeah, I'm gonna go and talk about it at the end, but if you're playing fighting games, this is not the controller for you. Unless, of course, somebody else can verify. And so let's talk. Alright, let's talk about the reprogrammable buttons. And what those are the 3 triggers and the 4 face buttons. So 10 buttons in total. Now the 3 triggers on each side are really nice. You have the L1, R1, L2, R2, and the bumpers. And naturally, at default state, the bumpers and the L1, R1 share the same layout, so it doesn't matter which you press. Personally, I like the bumpers to be my L1, R1, so I naturally just go to these. They stick out a little bit more, they're a little nicer to press down. And you see the natural L1, R1s actually kind of sink in. They're kind of soft. Sink is the right word, because they sink in right to the base of the controller. Where this, you can see, is a better, doesn't go all the way down, but that does go all the way down. I do like the triggers, unlike the Dualshock. Right here. These kind of have a nice up trigger, and they're really responsive. I like them. I believe they are a higher quality than of the Dualshock. So, natural gaming, I think you really won't have any issues outside of fighting games for that, and your triangle button presses, you gotta press harder. For first-person shooting, let's be honest, like fighting games, you'll want your own custom controller. So, there's those custom controllers with the buttons on the side, or an actual fighting stick, if you want to bring that. And for first-person shooters, we know there's scuffs, right? If you're playing Call of Duty, you get a scuff. And the difference is, instead of having 2 additional buttons up here, you get them in the back. So they're kind of like paddles, and you hit them. And they're the only things allowed at the tournaments and championships and things like that. But they're expensive, right? Mad Catz has an MLG branded one, supported, that can be taken, and Scuff, they're all pretty much, they bought that spot for themselves. And, unless you're going $100, you're not getting anything for less than $100, what I'm saying with Scuff. This is only $30, and it's kind of like a nice 1.5 jump if you consider the Dualshock 1, or the Dualshock 3 1.0, and the Scuff a 2.0 for first-person shooters. This is more like a 1.5. Now, what I naturally do is actually, I map my L2, R2 to the L1, R1, because I only use these for like grenades or whatever, so you really don't need to be pressing them too often. And I map my X and circle button to the L2 and R2, so I can actually, without ever taking my hands off, jump, or melee. And really, if you take a look on the Dualshock, and I'm of course talking about tactical on first-person shooters, which means your melee and your prone or crouch. Normally your melee is your right stick, so you just punch and then you crouch or whatever. So tactical, you flip, so your melee's here and your crouch and prone is there. That's how people tend to do their drop shotting. So if you do that with the Dualshock and you have your tactical setup, you're normally sliding or dolphin diving all around. But if you want to punch somebody and they're real close and you never know, so it's always kind of like a scary thing, you have this movement right here. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but in that moment where, oh, I have to punch him, and then you have to walk all the way here, or, you know, normally it's just too much, that little bit of delay, and if they have a regular default, for them it's... So you can see that's a big difference. With this, if you wanted to do default or tactical, I mean, it's a little worse because you have to get used to your face buttons now being down here, and I tend to naturally just hit the jump, so at first I was just jumping a lot, and because it's real close here, but you're not expecting that because you kind of have to be, and see, that's kind of awkward. So what's nice is I program it right up here to melee, so I'm running around and I just go. And believe me, it pretty much puts you back at the advantage. And that's pretty much it. Now, I haven't talked a lot about this button, this target button at the back. And that's because what it does is basically it drops your sensitivity down. You hold it, and your right stick sensitivity is to the floor. So what that means is precise aiming. So if you're a sniper and you're hiding in some corner, because that's what snipers like to do, you hold target button in the back and you get real precise shooting instead of going over shots. Now, it's a nice feature. I like it. I think when they made it, it was a good choice. There's just not a lot of games that support it, because if you do play the two big first-person shooter franchises, that's either Call of Duty or Battlefield, you know, the recent ones, 3 or 4. Call of Duty's fast-paced, so that's not really going to help you, because by the time you line up your shot, they are already out of the way. This really works for Battlefield. If you're a Battlefield fan and you want to get better at sniping, this will work for you, okay? This will definitely improve your shots without you having to go and adjust the sensitivity. Now, sensitivity, this is the problem I have, and it's my one gripe, along with these kind of, you know, you really can't make an excuse for them. Now, naturally, and you'll hear this a lot, people say there is a dead zone. So what that means is somewhere here, your controller is just not registering. So your slight movements. Whereas if you have a Dualshock 3 or even an Xbox 360 controller, anything that's an officially branded controller, these are perfectly calibrated for every slight movement. It all registers. This doesn't. This has sensitivity. Don't know if you can make it out, but it's 1 to 10 down here for analog. And it starts off base 1, and there is dead zone, and you have to up your sensitivity to at least 5 to get rid of it. But because you're altering the sensitivity of the sticks, you have to go in and alter the sensitivity of the game. I'm someone who likes to play on a low sensitivity. I know most people set it to really high and they're looking all around, but that's not me. So as I was playing Call of Duty Ghosts and just practicing with this, trying to get a feel for it, my base sensitivity is like 4 or 5 for my Dualshock. And here, because I had to set the sensitivity down up to about 6, 5.5, I had to drop my sensitivity down to like 2 to start aiming naturally. I know half the weird aiming I've been having is having to get used to these layouts, but the other half is definitely this. And I'm not exactly a big fan of it because this just worked so well. I never had to think of my aiming or as something that was holding me back. This requires playing around to get that calibration you want. Now, that might sound a bit negative, and it certainly is, but I love this controller. I bought it not for first-person shooting, but because it's, to my knowledge, the only PS3 controller with this specific design. You know, I could go without these extra bumpers, but it's so comfortable. The rubber really makes it. The size, again, if you have bigger hands, it's going to feel better. Improved triggers, and honestly for $30, which this is going for on Amazon at the moment, I know its natural price is like $50. This is just a higher quality than your standard Dualshock with the hard plastic, and especially triggers. I really like it. I enjoy it a lot. And for my regular gaming, I really don't ever have a problem, but with first-person shooters, I tend to go back to the DualShock 3 just because the sensitivity is perfect. I don't really have to play around with it too much. This, it really doesn't matter for your just casual games. D-pad really hurts. I really hope it's just a defect. From what I've heard, it is. None of the 14 or so Amazon reviews stated it. Most of them, again, is for this dead zone issue. Again, here. Also, one other thing I almost forgot. I don't have them with me, but they give you 3 different sizes. 4? No, 3. Okay. I had to do some quick division. What these nubs are is they're actually replaceable. For both. I'm not going to go and unscrew both of them just to show you, but you can see, there we go, it's very small, there's no extra stick to it, and others actually start giving you a higher base, so this is like even bigger, like up to here, and an even bigger one. And the idea for that, again, this is a first-person shooting controller, and you'll see that with a lot of like the scuffs and stuff, that the right stick will actually be a little bit taller, and that's supposed to give you more precision for higher sensitivity. That's what they assume you're gonna have. And the idea is the longer the stick, I think Control Freaks also sells these. But again, I'm not, don't quote me on it. They do. So the idea is the bigger the stick, the more precise your shooting at a higher sensitivity, because if you have a high sensitivity, all you need is really these kind of small movements to go ahead. But because you have to play with this sensitivity, and it's not this sensitivity, I find it more of a hassle. I did play with the medium one. This is the lowest one, no bass. This is what I prefer, even though for me these are actually a little too big. If we can get a quick comparison. You can see the assault pad sticks are like twice the size. I would have preferred this to be the base size, and of course bigger replacements as an option. So far these take a little getting used to, but I am playing on first-person shooters like I always was, and I really like this for just my everyday gaming. It feels right, it's comfortable in my hands. I really can't go on as much about it, because if you check this and all the other reviews, everyone's going to tell you it's comfortable. It should work in your hands, but these little issues like this dead zone really stop it. Now, this video is getting a bit too long. This isn't exactly what I wanted to show. I was hoping to get this under 10 minutes. But I didn't see any, and I figured if you're trying to make a purchase choice, you want to know about this. So, as the only, you know what? I think there is another YouTuber, but it's not in English. So this will be the only English review outside of the like 10 or 15 unboxing. Still doesn't help me make a choice. But if you appreciated this, leave a like. And if this is going to affect your purchase, either positively or negatively, you found something out you didn't want to, or you finally heard the right thing and you went to go ahead and make the choice, leave a comment. That's optional, but I would appreciate a like, just because this is the only one up there. And if it gets the views, it'll be put more to the top, and that way people can find this. It'll be easier for them to know about the Assault Pad 3, let's give the full name, the HORI PS3 FPS Assault Pad 3. Really, just the king of redundancy. Alright, that's going to be it. I hope this was informative. Later.